This my two Satoshis, this my two Satoshis. Who need 2 cents when they can get double from stacking Toshis? Yeah, this my two Satoshis, this my two Satoshis. Tune in and get the latest and greatest from stacking Toshis.
Hola, and buenos dias, G&Gs. My name is Shrek with 2Ks, and yes, it has been a minute since I have gotten one of these my two Satoshis out, but yes, your boy's back, and honestly didn't really leave. It's just, there's been a lot of stuff going on the content creation side. But if you don't know, My Two Satoshis is brought to you here on CBTV. That's Crypto Blood TV. Shout outs to the big homie. And the basic idea is I cover some crypto news things and I cover some non-crypto news things, and I bring those two things together. It's more so about what comes across my attention versus let's do price talk and all that like speculative stuff or like mainstream news. That's not really what this is about. Again, this is my two Satoshis on the things that capture my attention. Before I jump into the stories though, I do want to say thanks to the folks who are still tapping into the CBTV. Thanks to the folks who are looking out for me. Thanks to the folks who are tapping in on the Twitter spaces who followed me from my two Satoshis and the whole Gentleman of Crypto side. I appreciate y'all. Yeah, your boy's busy on this whole thing of pushing out this content and trying to give people something different than what everybody else is doing. And it is where it is, but nonetheless, I do appreciate you folks. Thank y'all so much. I really do. So let's jump into this first story here. And what we got is a Ripple story. And so Ripple sets sights on expansion into Europe with Ireland registration. Of the TLDR, the only real important line is this first one. Ripple plans to register as a virtual assistant service provider in Ireland. When I heard this, I honestly was like, what does that mean? What is the benefit of that? We'll get into it this way. Highlight. Ripple plans on expanding globally by registering in Ireland as most of its business is based outside of the US. Yes, Ripple has been making that global expansion for the actually really pushing in the midst of COVID. They was definitely pushing. Jumping down to the next issue. The bottom line is that with the regulatory stuff that's going on here in the States, I imagine that even though the case with the SEC hasn't fully cleared yet, and it does look like since they've been holding out for this long, they might walk away in a much better position where they're not getting the shutdown. Arguably, because the case was not a quick one and done, like how they did your boy Reggie Middleton, that means they'll walk away, maybe not with the most all right, we have 100% win, but they're gonna walk away with at least a 90% win on their terms of still being able to operate the way they want to operate. But do understand this ain't financial advice. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just some guy on the internet who wears shades and has a nice hoodie on right now. All right, so let me get into these highlights on this. Attorney Al Doherty, that his name is mad hard for me to say. I have my moments, y'all, sorry. Al Doherty said the company plans to apply for a virtual asset service provider license there shortly. So he's talking about Ireland, right? The Central Bank of Ireland has already registered U.S. crypto exchange Gemini as a VASP, which is a VASP. If granted, the EU pending MiCA legislation would enable Ripple to then offer its services across the U.S. That's basically the whole bottom line of the situation right there. That is the key advantage. On top of a lot of multinational global companies register in Ireland because of the friendly corporate tax base that's there. That's another thing that's going on there. So I imagine it ain't just the whole, if the MiCA thing goes through, we get to also now stretch out into Europe. Nah, dog, it's more than that going on to it. But nonetheless, the CEO, Bran Garlinghouse, also highlighted the company's development across the globe. We're practically growing leaps and bounds outside of the United States. He said 95% of our customers are non-US. I don't know if that number is actually 95 because I don't really be digging into Ripple like that. But I will say, if the Binance situation is any indication of what's up as far as, compartmentalize your situation and how your business operates in the US and focus outside, because the legislation is more friendly out there, so is the taxes, and the market is way bigger. Granted, everyone does this whole the US has the biggest, we have all the money, and it's all about how America has the legislation and then everyone follows. That was the old guard shit. The things that I'm paying attention to is, the game is changing. And it ain't gonna be about US hegemony anymore. It ain't gonna be about US dollar. And I'm not saying it's gonna just happen tomorrow overnight, but I think a number of other companies in this space, as well as outside of crypto, and in other countries see there is a shift in the geopolitical dominance of where the US sits in things. That's what I'm saying. Nonetheless, that's that on that story. Jump into this next thing. It's Brazil's biggest bank to offer crypto custody. I don't even understand what, let me jump back one. One, this was a PR press release thing. I questioned who was the bright ideaed person who was like, yeah, let's release this while this whole FTX situation is going on. Did you not read the room? Unless you're saying, oh, we're here in Brazil and we're so insulated as a bank that we don't have to worry about what those American exchanges are doing. First off, FTX ain't even an American exchange. It started out here, but then they went down into the islands. So it's like, y'all don't understand the space. There's a whole thing right now going on with whether centralized exchanges need to really be like squashed and downside because of the whole not your keys, not your cheese, as Bitcoin Zay always says. You're getting back into the same system that screwed you in the beginning. And then when you read the highlights on this, or as I read the highlights on this, you'll see why whoever was the person they let talk to the public for this, they don't know shit. They just don't understand the space. They don't know shit. The biggest commercial bank in Latin America with 400 billion in assets under management is to start offering crypto custody. The name of the bank is called, what is it? No, oh, sorry. The rest of this is behind a paywall. I think because I had already looked at the page before, I can't look at it again. The bottom line was the bank is called Itual, and basically they hired someone from crypto.com who was the former VP over there, and so now he's over there and he's in charge of their crypto asset department. And so the basic idea is they're talking the marketing buzzwords for how to make it sound like shit about crypto, but when you actually know what the hell is going on, you realize they're just using marketing buzzwords and they don't know anything. They're going to learn the lesson the hard way in this whole self-custody thing, and why that model arguably is not helpful. But that's just me and how I'm looking at it. Nonetheless, we're pushing on to this last story. And this last story is about Amazon. I'm not a numbers guy, y'all know that. I don't really be out here doing a TA, FA, and I don't be talking like I'm all in on the trading stuff like that, right? But I'm just saying $1 trillion is a lot of money. I'm just saying. $1 trillion is a lot of money, okay? And so Amazon losing $1 trillion in market cap looks towards cost-cutting strategies. So this is from Yahoo News. This is on the finance section. What this actual part of the copy is a conversation between these two folks right here, and not actually like a regular article. The basic idea is that, hey, here's what we see as the percentage numbers for how much money Amazon has value-wise has gone down, and it added up as far as the market cap, like I said, in $1 trillion. Please just give me like $500,000. I'll be good with that. And so now it's the whole thing of they need to start cutting costs. How do you cut costs? You have to start pulling back projects for expanding new warehouses, as well as cutting down on the personnel side, whether you're talking about the warehouses or whether you're talking about Amazon corporate. There's two different sides of this, right? You got the delivery people, the folks at the warehouses, the managers, the directors of like regional markets and stuff like that. You're really going to start at the bottom level of personnel. Let me jump over here up close for you. And so they get into that. And here's something else that's interesting that I'm going to throw into the mix on this, because I was talking to somebody about this and they were saying that for what they're paying attention to, it isn't that they're going to cut all of just the IT people that are in Amazon. It's no, we're going to cut through some of the IT people, but we're going to look at the people who are on work visas. You're going to see a drop in the number of people on work visas. The warehouses, talking to another tech person I know, they're like, yeah, the warehouses are starting to implement more of the robotics. So now you're going to have more robotics. You're going to cut back on the labor force for the technical IT people, but you're going to have minimal staff who understands how to fix the robots, as well as have that level of human interaction. I honestly think the more that I've been looking at things, the robotics and automation push is going to happen hard over this next 2 years. Come 2025, folks are going to look back and be like, yo, you remember when in COVID that we had people in blah, 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 name a store, name a brand, name a business. Yo, I seen a robot inside Denny's the other day. On Veterans Day, I went to Denny's. I seen a robot with the little tray thing on top of it, like they be having in Japan and South Korea, in Denny's. I need y'all to think about that. 2024, 2025 is gonna look way different. Folks ain't even gonna be ready. But the point of what that article was talking about was Amazon is gonna be cutting down, and they're also gonna be looking to repurpose their warehouses. So they're gonna be renting it out to other companies. They're not gonna build as many things over the next 2 years for storage space, as well as they're gonna increase their robotics in the warehouses. So get ready to see. I don't know how folks are going to survive it. Hopefully they're doing what they can to upskill themselves and make themselves relevant, because the high value people who are still indispensable to the operation of the business, trust me, they securing their positions, because I was talking to somebody else about that too, and they got offered more money to stay on for where they at, but they also on the government contracting side of stuff, so they in a whole different realm. Nonetheless, I am Shrek with 2Ks. This is the closing of my 2 Satoshis. Again, doing a lot of different things right now as far as doing the 2 Twitter spaces. Wednesdays is the Wevolution. That's me, CB, Crypto Bay, and Yoga Boss, where we're talking about like the whole thing related around Web3 and the Wevolution and what it means to people of color as far as founders and users and the different things happening in the space right now that we understand as Web3. And then I also do the other thing called Metaverse is the Other Side. That's with my boy 3D. And we're talking about the more techie, geeky side of the Metaverse space. So yeah, also putting together a hackathon, man, like that's a whole process that I'll talk about another time. Nonetheless, folks, the ramble is done. I am Shrek with 2Ks. This is my 2 Satoshis, brought to you here on CBTV. I ain't telling no lies, I just